What's up, you guys? Welcome to part one, part three series of my Hyperemesis Gravidarum pregnancy journey that I had with my daughter Layla. I really want to talk to you guys about it. I'm going to be doing my makeup. I'm not going to be explaining my makeup whatsoever because I really want to dedicate my words and my mind to my pregnancy that I had. It's been a little while, so I really need to kind of make sure that I'm telling you guys what happened in order, how it happened, what it felt like, and how it just really took me into a whole other reality of life, and how it made me the person I am today and the mom that I am today. So if you do want to know of any of the products that I'm using in this video, they're going to be in the description box. Also, I just did a in-depth video on my brows for my IGTV, and you can go ahead on my Instagram. It's at xglamv. The name will be here. Go ahead, click on my series, my in-depth series on my IGTV, and just watch my new brow tutorial on the red brows that I'm doing. Now, I want to make sure I give you guys as much information about this as possible. The thing is that Hyperemesis Gravidarum is a sickness that only 0.5 to 2% women in this world get, and I happen to be in that percentile, and it sucks because it's such a small percent that the research and the knowledge of it is so small, because not every OB encounters this, not every doctor encounters this. But the few who do are the ones who are trying to learn about it. So because it's such a small amount, it's not such a known sickness, and it's not really researched. So I'm going to give you, from what I know, what I've been taught from the doctors who took care of me, and what I did about researching online myself what I did learn. So yeah, I hope you guys kind of get comfortable. This is going to be lengthy, and I did it in 3 parts because I cannot cram 9 months of a almost deadly sickness in a 20-minute video. I just can't. That would be selling my story short and myself short, and what I went through and risking my life very short, and I'm not going to do that. So if you really want to hear about what happened and the times that I almost lost that chance of being here right now with you guys, then please keep watching and keep an open mind and understand that this was very real, this was very hard, and it was scary. So yeah, I hope you guys can take this video serious and keep your heart open and really just vibe with me and hear me out. Camera quality is going to be so amazing, you guys. I'm using the front face camera, not the back part, because I want to be able to see myself, and I kind of want to be able to catch myself before I cry and stuff like that. So Hyperemesis Gravidarum, if you Google it, the definition online kind of really sets a little fire in me, because it just says prolonged vomiting, and it's true, but it also says morning sickness. This is not morning sickness. Morning sickness is typically in the morning, right? A lot of women who are pregnant, they're sick in the morning, and by afternoon-ish it lets up. They can somewhat go into like normal activities, eat, indulge in life, be fruitful, enjoy it with their family, enjoy the whole beautiful stages of pregnancy, versus someone who has hyperemesis has all day, every day sick, vomiting 3 to 5 times in 1 hour, and there's 24 hours in a day. You even vomit when you don't eat. You just vomit all the time, and it's almost as if your body is allergic to pregnancy. In a sense, that's how it feels. Like your body's rejecting it so much. Like you have a virus. Your body sees it as a virus in a sense. And so there was a scientist who did research, and he said from what he was able to find was that a certain chemical that releases from the brain basically overdosed, and that chemical is also known as protein, but there's also other chemicals in your brain that some reactions to the pregnancy are abnormal, and those chemicals create a reaction in your body, and that's what happened in the symptoms of that reaction and that overdosing. So the way that chemical reacts to your body, and it causes you to get extremely sick, and obviously every sickness has symptoms, and symptoms of mine is prolonged vomiting. Now, you would think, okay, so it's just throwing up. You gotta understand something. If you throw up almost 30 times in one day for months without a single drop of water, without a single drop of food, no vitamins, nothing, you die. You die in almost 2 weeks of just not water. Imagine being 9 months pregnant with not water. No food. You become, I want to say the word right, but I always say it wrong, malnutrit. You lack nutrition, so your body is basically dying. And that's what was happening to me. Some women get it bad. Some women get it quite mild, and some get it extreme. And I happen to be somebody who went all the way to the extreme case of vomiting. I lost 45 pounds in my pregnancy, which is not common whatsoever. I was an extreme case of hyperemesis, you guys. And I've been pregnant twice before. I'm not the only one who gets this in my family. And I want to say it's passed on through genes. My mother had it. My sister had it. I'm not entirely sure if my grandmother had it. But you can only imagine how bad it must have been in their time, because they did not have the medical equipment and the science that we have now to kind of find a way to keep women a little more stable in this type of sickness. So it is hereditary, and I got it from my mom. But I did not know. I mean, I knew in this pregnancy, I knew as soon as I got pregnant with Layla, I was gonna have it. If you know me personally, and if you are in my life personally, you know that me and my husband lost a few due to this sickness, and a few other things prior to actually having had Layla. And going into the pregnancy, when I first found out I was pregnant, I was actually in my school. I was in Cosmo school, and I remember we were taking a quiz, and I stood up to go hand my quiz to my teacher, and I felt extremely dizzy, and I caught onto something, and I just kind of was like, whoa. And I know this sounds crazy, but I was like, I'm pregnant. And I only say that because, like I said, before Layla, we had 2 other pregnancies. So the dizziness that I got was so familiar to me that I already knew. Like, I just knew that I was pregnant. And I told Matthew that through text message, and he's like, well, if you got $2, go to Dollar Tree and get a test and see, but I doubt that you are. I was right, he was wrong. I'm in the bathroom at my school, I take a test, and it comes out positive. I start crying and crying and crying, and I come out of the bathroom, and one of the teachers, she wasn't my teacher, but she was a teacher there who I often spoke to. She was like, oh my god, baby, what's wrong? And I was just like crying, and my emotions kicked in so hard, guys, that I like blurted it out. I'm pregnant. Like, you know, she was the first person other than Matthew and my sister to know. Because we lost 2 prior, the deal was is that I wasn't telling nobody I was pregnant. I held it in because losing your children back to back and then announcing that you're pregnant and then having to announce that you're no longer pregnant, it hurts. It hurts so much that I just didn't want to go through that whole thing in case I lost this pregnancy too. Therefore, I didn't say anything, guys. Okay, I honestly had to turn the camera around and fix this whole lighting because that the ugly lighting was driving me crazy, guys. So, I'm pregnant, and I'm gonna paint a little picture for you guys. I live in Florida, so this week, I was 3 weeks when I found out I was pregnant. Normally the symptoms always start when I was 5 weeks. A whole week passes, we found out that a storm was coming, a hurricane was coming to Florida with a Category 5, Hurricane Irma, and everyone's preparing, you know, for the next X amount of days. Everybody's preparing. They're keeping track of the storm. I'm getting scared because I don't want to get sick. I don't want my sickness to come early while I'm in the midst of a hurricane and I can't leave the house. We can't drive anywhere. You know, I was scared. So literally the night before Hurricane Irma hit, I was in my room and I posted a selfie. I did my makeup. I had blue hair at this time. And I posted a selfie on Facebook and I said, beauty before the storm. And I wasn't talking about the actual storm. I was talking about the storm that I was going to get into. And it was so ironic that these things happened because as soon as Hurricane Irma hit, I kid you not, as soon as it hit central Orlando, I started vomiting. Our power went out, you guys, and I just started crying because it hit in that moment. I got so nauseated. I was puking and puking. So here we are in this house. The vomiting started. There was my husband, his mother, her husband, my husband's brother, and my husband's friend. And we're all in the house, and you know, they're peeing in the dark. You can't flush the toilet. The house is starting to get messy. It started to get uncomfortable. I was feeling disgusting. I wanted to go to the ER, and so I ended up going to the ER the 4th day of having no power. And at this time, we actually submitted to have, so my mother-in-law is married to a veteran, and veterans and their families have an opportunity to go stay at the Hilton or whatever hotel, and they will pay for it. And so that's what happened. We were just waiting for them to give us the call that we were approved. On that day, I was in the ER. I was crying. I was getting IV hydration. I had to wait to see an OB until after the storm because everything was shut down, right? Everything was shut down and there was no offices open. No one had power. Some places were damaged. So we got approved, and I remember we get to go to a hotel. I leave the ER. We go to the house. I remember packing clothes. We get the dogs ready, and we get in the car and we head out. So we head out to the Hilton. I was very lucky. I had a friend who's the one who set it all up for us. She greeted me. We spoke. I had told her I was pregnant, even though I wasn't telling anybody, just at you guys. I was trying to keep it a secret. But I did tell her I was pregnant because we were having like conversations and we were getting very close. And she helped me and stuff like that. And she saw I was very sick. She asked me if I was okay. So I ended up telling her, like, no, I'm not. I'm like sick. I'm pregnant, but I have a sickness. And, you know, whatever. No, we're just talking. And as we get into the hotel room, I feel more relieved because not physically and sick-wise, but I felt relieved because I honestly rather throw up in a clean bathroom. I'd rather be able to shower. And it just was, you know, thank God, you know. So this isn't my first rodeo having hyperemesis, okay? We had it in the last 2 pregnancies beforehand. We knew that this was going to be, you know, if it lasted and if we survived through it, it was going to be a freaking ride of a lifetime, you know? It was not a fun one, but it was going to be hell. But I was ready for it. I came to terms with, like, okay, I'm having a baby. I wanted a baby. I'm having a baby. I'm not going to have a beautiful pregnancy like the woman on TV or my friends who can just glide through pregnancy so beautifully, you know, get your maternity food, photo shoot, eat whatever you want. You know, I knew that wasn't going to be me. So I'm in the bathroom, I'm on the floor, I'm puking my brains out in the AC, thank God. And my husband comes into the bathroom and he just keeps, you know, leaning by the toilet with me, rubbing my back, saying, it's okay, babe, like, it's gonna be okay, like, we got this, we're gonna get through it, you know, like, giving me words of encouragement, telling me, you know, once the power comes back on, we're gonna see a doctor and we're gonna make sure someone gives you the correct help this time. Because here's the thing, when I was pregnant the other times and I would tell the doctors, hey, I have hyperemesis, nobody knew anything. Like, they were clueless. And that was the part that made everything hard, is that because the sickness is only affecting a short population, not everyone's gonna know what this is. Not everyone's gonna know how to handle it. They're clueless. So, as you guys can imagine, all we can do at this point is vomit in the hotel, go to the ER, get IV. I got injected with needles a total of 100 times probably in my pregnancy, and I'm not even kidding. As you can assume, I have so many needle scarring on my hand, and I think they're there forever. But I'm not upset about it. They're just a reminder of the hell I went through to have my beautiful little girl. So we're going through it, you guys. We're holding on. We're waiting till the power can go back on. So we're in this hotel. I'm puking my brains out. I'm crying my butt off. I applied for insurance. I applied for everything. I got approved. And I'm honestly just, now it's a waiting game until I can call one of the OBs to see if they accepted my insurance and if they were open with power and stuff like that. Sure enough, maybe 3 days go by. We found out our house has power in it again, so we go home. I call an OB, and I found one that accepted my insurance, and we go. Okay. Here's where I think God sent me an angel, you guys. You can imagine the first few doctors that I told about the sickness, all they ever did was gave me nausea medication. Listen to me, I'm going to tell you guys something right now. If you meet someone with hyperemesis, don't tell them to eat ginger. Don't tell them to get those wristbands with the thing that applies pressure and it's supposed to get you to stop throwing up. Don't tell them to drink tea. Don't tell them to eat ginger snaps. Just don't. That is not, none of that will be a cure for this sickness. There is no cure for this sickness. No ginger, no cracker, no nothing is going to make this stop. Your body is sick, extremely sick. This isn't a natural remedy cure kind of thing. So, the doctors had only always prescribed me medication. I already knew these were not going to work. If this third doctor, I told Matthew, if this third doctor does not listen to me, I'm going to flip my SHIT. Because I cannot do this anymore. I cannot lose another pregnancy because these doctors won't help me, because they're not looking into it, because they're not understanding, okay, this sickness is a bit more serious than just giving you a pill. You know? It just wasn't like that. So we go and see the doctor finally. My OB. Actually, I'm seeing a midwife because I really do like midwives. But when I saw, a midwife, my midwife, she had told me, you need to see an actual high-risk team, because a midwife is only knowledgeable up to a point. They don't have enough educational background to back up this kind of thing. When it's a sickness, when it's a high-risk pregnancy, you need to see an actual gynecologist, an actual person who's really trained and qualified for this. I was very pleased with her realness. But let me tell you something. This lady was an angel sent from God. I don't want to cry. I had a feeling I was going to cry in this video, but I told myself to try to hold on as much as possible. Because when I think about this day, I feel like it was meant to be in this order. As soon as I saw my midwife, she was a beautiful lady, and I told her, listen, I was crying. I looked really bad. My lips were cracked and dry. My skin was pale. I was going through it, you guys. Really bad. And I remember looking at her and thinking, I gotta lay it on her. I have to really express how bad this is. I can't let anybody else just give me a pill anymore. I need fucking help. As soon as I saw her, and I was like crying and very assertive. I obviously don't want to act it out right now because I feel like it'll make me look silly. But as soon as I seen her, I was like, listen, just listen to me and don't say anything. Let me say everything, please. And I'm crying. I was like, I have a sickness called Hyperemesis Gravidarum. No one knows how to approach it because it's not common. But I need you to listen to me. No diclegis, no freaking Zofran, no Reglan, no little pill you give me is gonna let me go home and drink water. It's gonna let me go home and eat. I already know what's gonna happen. I'm gonna get sick. I'm gonna vomit. No one's gonna help me. I'm gonna lay in my bed and puke my brains out. And I'm gonna keep going and going and going until I lose my baby or I die. Because it's almost happened twice already. And I lost my kid both times. And each time they just gave me a pill. And no one understands I needed more than that. I needed home health care. And I'm just crying and telling her exactly what I know I needed. Because my sister went through this. And once they took her serious and they gave her exactly what she needed, she had 2 babies with that help of the doctor. She stood up after I was done pouring my heart out and crying. After I told her I've been to the ER multiple times already and I've only been pregnant for 4 to 5 weeks now. She just hugged me, guys. She hugged me and she looked at me and she goes, we're going to get you the help you need. I promise. She's like, I promise. I'm going to go make phone calls right now. Sit tight. I'll be right back. She left. She didn't leave me. She left the room and she came back with these papers and pink slips. She said, this is a paper. You're going to go to Winnie Palmer. They have a high-risk team. You're going there right now. I already called them. They have a room waiting for you. You're going to see a doctor. They're going to help you. I told them everything I think you need. They're going to go take care of you. I can't be your midwife. I can't be your OB. This is for someone higher. She's like, I made sure I put it priority they're waiting for you. They have a bed already. You just give them this slip. You go there and they're going to take care of you. I looked at her and I was like, thank you. Thank you. Like, I hugged her, I embraced her, and I was just like, I appreciate you, finally, somebody listening to me. You have no idea how tired and sick I am. And she was like, oh, baby girl, I can see it. She's like, I can see you look like you're at the end of it. You know, like, I don't want to give you a pill. You know yourself and your pregnancy better than anybody. You've been through it before. You're not stupid. You know what you need, and I believe you. I'm giving you as much help as I can now. I went to Winnie Palmer. The reason why I think the lady was heaven sent, I did not know that was her last day of work. She wasn't going to work there anymore. I got to see her before she left. I genuinely think, had it been a different doctor, you guys, had it been somebody else, they would not have done that. I genuinely believe it. God put me there at that time, that specific day, with that person to help me in this pregnancy. He helped me find that person who's going to listen and do exactly what I needed. And I prayed for it that whole time in the storm in the hotel that I was throwing up and crying in the dark. He heard me and he helped me get to that lady before she quit the next day. So we go to Winnie Palmer immediately. Straight from there, we go to Winnie Palmer. We didn't go home. We went straight to Winnie Palmer. It was that easy. We took a picture. We signed up in the front with the registry. Now, Winnie Palmer is a beautiful, beautiful women's and babies birthing hospital. It's multiple things, and it has an OBGYN. It has a huge cafeteria. It has a little chapel in there to pray. It has a shopping center. It has I think it's called 305 Mom. It's a photography company that's literally downstairs. It's just so beautiful, and it's such a like modern looking birthing hospital. Honestly, guys, it's just beautiful. So we get there and I register in and I give the lady the slip. Somebody comes, they give me a wheelchair, I sit in it. I go, they weigh me, they put me in the triage, they weighed me and stuff like that. I went into a room where I met, like an emergency room where I met a doctor. I basically told her almost everything that I told the midwife, just had to run it by her as well. Obviously, when you go to a hospital, everybody you meet, they're going to ask you, like, so what's going on? You're going to have to repeat your story 30 million times. But at this point, I didn't care. I wasn't giving up. I repeated that story to as many people, as many times as I had to. So we are talking. She's writing everything down. She's like, okay. She goes, my name is such and such. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to admit you. You're going to stay here for a few days. Because we're going to go through, what I'm going to do is make a plan for you right now. We're going to figure everything out for you. So she didn't want to tell me exactly what the plan was because she obviously had to go through my insurance, speak to the team, because my team consisted of 23 doctors. I had 23 doctors to make sure I survived this pregnancy and the baby did. And this was what I asked God for. You guys, I can't express enough how much of a relief when I got there. I just fucking knew. I knew that I was going to make it and Layla was going to be born. I didn't know at that time I was having a girl, but I knew that that's it. This pregnancy is happening, and I can feel it. I was going to actually get to meet my baby this time. Here we are, being admitted. Matthew goes home and he brings like a duffel bag of underwears, pajamas, and just pajamas. I didn't want nice clothing because at this time, guys, I lived in PJs. I didn't wear any jeans, any nice clothes. I did not dress up whatsoever until the end of my pregnancy, the very end. And so I am going upstairs. I'm crying because this is the moment I waited for, that moment where I actually knew I was going to be taken care of and helped. We're upstairs in the room, and I get settled into the room. Matthew's leaving. He left already. He left to go get some stuff and bring it back. Now, after this moment, after this day, Matthew did leave on the road. So everything that I experienced throughout this pregnancy, I did alone. And it makes me feel that much stronger, because once you guys hear everything that I went through alone, you'll be able to realize why this changed me more than it changed anybody that was, in my life when I was pregnant. And not saying that it didn't change Matthew, because becoming a father in general changed him so much, and he's so amazing, but he was not there for it, to see the worst of it. Therefore, I feel like this was more of a journey about just me, This was my journey. This was my story. Not saying that he wasn't supportive, but he left. We realized financially he needed something to really be stable for us financially. He was on the road for a few weeks, learning his CDL and getting his license so that he can come back and get a job where he gets paid very good hourly. And we would not have everything we have today if he did not make that sacrifice. And it hurt me, but he was doing it for us at the end of the day. So I really, really, I always thank him for that. Even though it killed me not to have him, I always thank him for that. But, so I'm in the hospital. It's the weekend, so Matthew leaves, and then I have to wait Monday till the whole team is in the hospital, because some of the doctors don't work on weekends. And so I had to wait till Monday. I was taken care of, guys. I was on IVs the whole time. They filled me up with everything I was missing. They gave me potassium. They gave me iron. They gave me everything my body was lacking from not eating for the last few weeks. And I was on constant IVs. They gave me some tips on what to how to eat ice chips to get my throat still some fluid and not get so dry. I had so many nurses come in the room every day to talk to me, to hold my hand while I threw up. I'm telling you, it was the most wholesome feeling. I felt wholesome because there was this awesome team at Winnie Palmer who just made this experience a little less scary, to know that I was gonna get help. Doesn't mean that this was easy at all. It was so hard. Monday comes, you guys. They make the rounds on each level. They finally get to my level. I have a whole group. Now, I know I have 23 doctors, but obviously not all 23 were standing in my room. I had 5 in my room at a time. I meet my first set of doctors. They all introduce themselves to me. We talk. I tell them about it. They, majority of them knew what hyperemesis was, which is what I wanted to hear. They told me, you're on level 5. Now, level 5 is high risk, and a lot of the women we get have had hyperemesis. Some of them are just sick because other reasons, but we've had hyperemesis in cases, so we generally have an algorithm of how we want to go about this with you, and we're going to run that by. It's first thing we're going to do is we're going to set you up with home health care. Now, if you don't know what home health care is, it's basically just a nurse and a team of people who basically make sure that things at home are set up for you in a sense where you have help at home, you know, throughout this process. So they made phone calls and they got me a home aide, which was a nurse who came once a week to check my vitals, to check how the baby's doing, monitor the baby. They check my bandage. What I mean by that is, I'll get there. They change my bandage to my thing that I had. We're gonna call it a thing until I get to that part. They clean out, you know, they take my hazardous needles, because I did have needles for things I had to do to myself. They basically, you know, they do what nurses do when they take the rounds at a hospital. You know what I mean? And so they get that set up. They basically get me connected with the people. I talk to them on the phone. I create a company passcode with them so that every time they call, I would give them this passcode and they would know that it's me. That way they don't say any private information to random people and stuff like that, which was very great to know. I had a lady named Amber. She was so awesome. Sometimes I wish that I still spoke to her, because she was there for me crying. She was there for me vomiting. She helped me so many times get into the shower. She helped me get out. She helped me get dressed. And some of these things she did not, you know, it was not on her thing of to do for me. There was you know, she had 5 things to do when she got there, but she also did beyond that, you know, things that made me genuinely feel like she is one of those ladies that makes me happy. She takes her job serious, you know. So we're gonna get into the part where we discuss my PICC line. And once I speak about the PICC line, guys, I'm gonna end it here, because the rest of it needs a lot of time to talk about individually. So many things happened that we're gonna go through it one by one, which is why this is a 3-part series. So the next thing, you guys, the doctors discussed with me once they set up my home aide, you know, my nurse who was coming to take care of me. We have to talk about hydration, right? We got to figure out how I'm going to stay hydrated. My body's not accepting water. It's completely rejecting it. And that's the number one thing we need to survive. So they talked to me about what's called a PICC line. And he says, we're going to figure this out now about your hydration. And this is our first jab at it. This is what we're going to do first. Do you know what a PICC line is? No. At least I know of it, but I don't know how it works, because my sister had it. So where he says, okay, well, let me explain to you how a PICC line works. It is a long catheter that goes from your forearm all the way to 2 centimeters away from your heart. It's very dangerous. You can die from it. It's easy to get a blood clot from this. And that blood clot will easily travel to your heart, since this tube is only 2 centimeters away from it. If that happens, you will have a heart attack and you will die. Which is scary to know that, but they have to tell you the scary first, so that you know your options and you know the consequences of the action, your choices, and the possible outcomes. Everything that we do in this pregnancy to save my life can also kill me, in a sense, you know. So he lets me know the vein that we put this catheter in is the main vein that carries the blood to your heart. It's your main, you know, the main vein in your arm. It connects to your heart. So he's telling me all of this, and I'm taking it in. He's telling me what it does is that this is a long-term intervention. When we put this in, it stays there for the whole pregnancy until you get better or you learn how to keep your fluids in. So we're talking and he's explaining to me in depth. He's telling me how it works. He tells me this is how it's placed into your arm. You will have a shot that numbs your arm, and the shot is what hurts the most during this process, shockingly. But the shot felt, and I remember how this was. He explains it, and the day that it happens, it's like this. There's these two women who were amazing. They lay me down, and they put, it's like I'm going to use this. It's literally like this, and they place it on your chest. Now, this machine that they place on my chest is connected to an ultrasound screen. They can see everything. They can see the hearts, basically like the outlining of the heart. They can see all the veins. It's completely lit up. And it basically helps them see where the vein is in my arm, where they need to place everything. They take like a little image of it and they keep it on the screen, and then they remove the device. They sterilize me and they sterilize themselves. This is basically a surgical procedure in a sense. I'm laying down and I'm so scared. Guys, my heart is pounding. I'm alone at this point and it feels so scary. Because all I wanted was to grab someone's hand and squeeze it. Because I don't know what I'm getting into. And I don't know what'll happen to me. I don't know how much this is going to hurt. I don't know anything. And to be alone through it all, it's sad. I can't tell you how many times I just sat in that room and curled up in a ball and cried my eyes out. Anyways, they removed that machine from my chest. The lady places a plastic, basically layout. It's a layout where it's an open cut on the arm, so they can see the arm, and then an open little hole here so they can stick cords through it to monitor my vitals the whole time. And then the rest covers my body because they can't have any hair or anything open that can infect me. So one of the lady holds my hand on the right side. She's so sweet, guys. She says, you can look at me if you want. You don't have to look that way. She said, you just talk to me. So tell me, what do you do for your, what were you doing before this? How are you? And she's just like trying to distract me. She's being so sweet. She's telling me to grab her arm and squeeze it as hard as I can because they did not want to lie to me. They said the shot to numb you is the most painful part about this. It hurts a lot. And they did not lie. They said it really hurts because the needle is very thick. It's not skinny. It's a thick needle and it's going to hurt. And it felt like a wasp sting. It hurt so bad. I was screaming, but not moving. I was just screaming internally. Like, you could hear me screaming, and I'm squeezing the lady's hand, and she's like, you're doing so good, Mama. Like, we're almost done. There's only a little bit left in there. Just hold on. And they're squeezing it, and I'm crying, and I'm crying, and I'm crying. And then I start to not feel the needle because of my hands going numb. And she takes it out. And they wait a little bit to make sure the whole thing got numb. Then they take out a blade. And they make a incision, like a cut, maybe this big. And they're pressing it. They're pressing to feel the vein, and they feel the vein. They put the machine back underneath the plastic, and they can see it. They began to stick the tube inside of me. And they're looking at the monitor, and they're making sure it's going in the right spot. They count. They're counting because on the tube it has numbers on it. And then they stop, and they stopped and marked it at 8. They need to mark it at 8. They need to mark on the tube and make sure that the people who changed my bandage knows that it stopped at number 8. They did this because they need to know how long or how much of the tube is inside my arm to make sure that it is exactly 2 centimeters away from my heart. If for some reason a nurse comes and sees that there's the number 10 is sticking out, that means the tube somehow got inserted more when I was sleeping or something like that, and it's probably touching my heart and I can die. So they would immediately need to pull the tube back out a little bit so that it can come back out and not be so close to my heart. They do that, they bandage it, they seal it, and they bring me upstairs to test it. It was perfect. The PICC line, it drew out blood and it put back in the blood. It was taking the IV, the drip was working. But then shortly after, maybe a few hours after, we realized I was highly allergic to the adhesive on the bandage. My whole arm went out in like hives and it got intense, you guys. My arm was like jacked up. So they had to call a team down, a special team, who changes this bandage, because not everybody's qualified to change this bandage. You would have to go through a course and really learn how to deal with this kind of thing, because any little wrong movement can be a big uh-oh. You know what I mean? So I wait a few hours for the team to come down. They lightly lift up the bandage so that I don't get any more hives, but they still kind of keep it lightly taped on because they can't have the wound exposed to the air for long. And this was like at 7:30-ish, and the team got there like at 10 p.m. And they come and they use this special hyperallergenic, I think that's how you say it. Oh my god, I suck. Band-Aid called One Sight, and they change it out, and it was perfect after that. So the last thing I'm going to talk to you guys about is what they decided to prescribe for me and how I had it set up at home. So I have now a permanent IV, and that's technically what this is. It's a permanent IV. The very next day, so this was at 10 p.m. when they changed it. I go to sleep. The next day, all the team comes back. They do their rounds like they will every morning. They come to the room and said, okay, you got the PICC line in. You have a home aid. Now we need to talk about your shipments of IV, your medications, and how this is going to work. I'm paying attention, and I've never been so more how do I put this? Aware of what's going to happen and preparing myself to have a different lifestyle that I've never had before. The doctor tells me, we're setting you up with a company. They are a pharmacy that technically delivers only home health care products to people who get that at home. You're somebody who's now under that kind of lifestyle, so, not a lifestyle, but a way of living at the moment, you know? So he's telling me they made phone calls with this company already. They set it up. What I'm going to be getting is every Monday and Thursday, and even sometimes in emergency calls. For instance, say one of the boxes of IVs that I have at my house got somehow infected with Clorox because the box was exposed to Clorox or something, you know? I need an emergency refill of IV. They would emergency one night send it there. You know, they were on their shit for people like me. So the doctor tells me, we're going to give you Pepsid. We're giving you an IV bag. We're giving you Zofran. We're giving you all of these medications. The Pepsid was to help with my extreme heartburn because the heartburn also really gave me nausea. They also gave me yellow banana bags that had all the nutrition and vitamins that you need. But obviously that wasn't for eating. That was just to give me some vitamins. And then the part that I was not expecting. He said, now, we can't put Zofran in your IV bag. Zofran is a little bit more complicated. What we're going to do is we're going to have you injected into your stomach every day. I was not expecting that, you guys. I was like, excuse me, like, what does that mean? It's like, okay, just like a diabetic person injects themselves with insulin, you're gonna have to do the same thing. I never saw myself as somebody who was ever prepared to stab their stomach with a needle. I didn't think I'd ever get to that point where I would, or ever be in a situation in my life where I would, but here I am, you guys. I'm in that kind of point in my life, and I was super nervous, but they give me basically a rundown, and they show me how it's going to be. It's a needle, this thick. Attached to that needle is a plastic tube. Once you take, like, you pinch your stomach, you take the needle and you stab yourself. Kind of do it with like a 1, 2, 3 kind of thing. If not, you'll stop yourself every time. Stab yourself. You click the back and the needle gets sucked in. You remove it and that tube is now inserted in your stomach. And then you click a syringe into the tube and you slowly release the Zofran into your stomach. And that's what I was supposed to do every day. They tell me that by the time I get home, everything should be set up. All my boxes should be there because I was getting discharged in 2 days. So, the day of, the doctors came to my room and they were, basically saying like, how do you feel? Do you feel like you got this? Do you think you're okay? Is there any concerns? Anything you're worried about, what we should talk about now before you leave? And I was like, no, I think I got this. I'm hoping I got this, but I think I do. I said I wrote everything down on my schedule, the time supposed to take them. I think I got this. I mean, I had to, right? I was doing it. I had to get it. This was my life. This was what I had to do, who I had to become in a sense. And so I called my mom because they told me to check and make sure the box got there, and I told them they didn't understand why the boxes weren't there yet, so they had to make some extra phone calls. But just in case, they sent me home with a box of IVs and medication, just in case, to hold me off until the shipment did get there, which is what I appreciate, and it actually got there 2 days later. Luckily, they gave me enough IV bags and stuff to last. At this point, they're telling me, you're going to go home and you're going to try your hardest to eat. You're going to try your hardest to stick to the regimen we're giving you. You're going to be hydrated, which is what the most important part is to always stay hydrated. We're going to go ahead and try this out. Hopefully, you can try to eat some things with this whole system we have set up. Don't eat full meals. Only eat snacks throughout the day. Don't eat meals. So I did that. I did what they said, and I went home. The Zofran thing didn't work, you guys. I got used to injecting myself with needles, but throughout the days, I would wake up and there was bubbles on my stomach. Just like really big bubbles. And so, I called the doctor and I was like, hey, so something's going on. I'm injecting the Zofran in my body, but there's like bubbles staying all over my stomach and like pus is coming out of it. And he was like, that doesn't sound right. Come to the hospital. So I do. And they found out for some reason, normally the Zofran gets distributed into my bloodstream, and it was not. It was forming in bubbles in the skin, and it wasn't going nowhere. That bubble was just all the Zofran just sitting inside my, in like the layer of my stomach. So they were like, okay, I'm at the hospital and they're telling me like, we're gonna have to figure something out because your body's not like soaking up the Zofran like it's supposed to. So I said, okay, we'll figure out something else then. So they leave me alone for a little bit. They go to discuss, because that's what they do. They leave as a group and they discuss things to figure out, well, we have an algorithm, we got to stick by it. What's the next step? If one thing doesn't work, we have to figure out what's the backup plan, right? They come back to the room and they talk to me about what they think they're gonna do now. They try to save stuff like this for last because it's not the safest to always inject Zofran into your veins. It's a very acidic medicine. It's very high in acid, and it can really potentially do damage. So they didn't want to do this, but obviously, you know, they're my team. They're gonna make sure I survive, and sometimes you have to take these risks if you want to make sure that you can survive. And so they tell me they're setting me up with a Zofran pump. Now, this is a machine that you carry with you 24/7. This machine is going to be connected to my IV, which means my IV used to be a 1-port, now it's a 2-port. So it goes from being a 1-cord, I don't know if you've ever seen this at the hospital, but to being like a Y connector. So one injects medicine and one just constantly streams your IV. So I am now, they switch out the cords on my IV and they give me a Y port. They told me the second port is when I receive the machine, because the next time my home aide comes, she'll bring it for me. And she ended up showing me how it works. She set it up with the day, the time. She set it up where it's on schedule. Every X amount of hours, it distributes another 1 ml, another 1 ml, so that it's constantly giving me medicine throughout the day. This machine, you guys, drove me insane. Try sleeping with that pump connected to your body. You can't really move, turn, do anything, because if you move or turn in any awkward way, the cartilage that the medicine is in sometimes accidentally gets ejected out of the machine, and it beeps, beep, beep, all night until you fix it, and it's like annoying. So I ended up learning how to sleep in like one position the whole time. The most uncomfortable thing. But that was the backup, guys, plan for the Zofran. So here I am at the house. I'm all set up. I have a routine going on. My nurse comes, checks my bags, changes my bandage, checks on the baby with a heart monitor, talks to me a little bit, asks me how I'm doing. She honestly became my diary. I cried to her. I expressed everything to her. She became a real freaking friend to me, you guys. She really did. And I think she's one person I'm always going to remember. She became like a true friend of mine. She would text me all the time, like, hey, hon, how are you? How are you feeling today? Did you find anything, like a safe food to eat? And, obviously it was always no. But she honestly became somebody that I'm always going to remember. And at this point, you guys, I still don't have, I'm not eating still. Still not eating. Still, I'm struggling. And this was the very still, okay, so at this point, I am now 2 months into the pregnancy, and I'm still vomiting, getting hydration, which was the important part. Still vomiting every day, getting super skinny. It was to the point where when my mother-in-law saw me at the hospital one time, because she came to visit me, and she was just like wanting to cry. Like, she was holding back tears. She was just like, oh my God, like, Veronica, I'm so sorry, like, this is breaking my heart. And I was like, please, like, I don't want that to be people's reactions when they see me. This was something that's supposed to be beautiful. I know people feel bad, but if you guys can, like, hide it. Because I genuinely wanted a part of this to feel normal. Even though none of it was normal, I still wanted someone to be, like, happy, because I wasn't, but I needed someone to be for me, and so I think I realized that food just wasn't gonna happen for me the day my mom bought me Chipotle, and I scarfed it down, guys. I did not care if I was gonna throw it up in a second. I scarfed that bad boy down so fast. And that was an instant regret, you guys. Instant regret. Because as soon as I swallowed that, I ran to the bathroom and was puking my brains out. But then I started choking. I was choking so bad. The rice, I learned, rice was my arch enemy. The worst thing to throw up. The worst thing. Rice, when you throw it up, it comes back in the form of a ball. So it's huge and it's thick. And I'm puking this up and I start choking. And I start panicking because they're watching TV. Like, my mom and her boyfriend are watching TV. And so I'm, like, scared because I'm, like, choking in the bathroom on my throw up. And I start banging on the wall as hard as I can with my foot. And my mom comes running to the bathroom. She's like, oh my God. She's trying to, like, she's hitting my back as hard as she could. Her man comes in. And then as soon as it comes out and I'm not throwing up anymore, I pass out. And I remember her and her man trying to carry me to my bed. They sit me my mom cleans me up a little bit. I'd vomit on myself, and I was a hot mess, you guys. I was in the same PJ for days. I stopped taking showers, and I know that sounds bad. When you're in a state like this, you guys, showering, changing clothes, putting on deodorant, brushing your teeth, you don't care for any of it. You kind of just let yourself go. You feel so weak and so horrible that you're just at a point of, like, I don't care. Like, I don't care how I look. I don't care how I smell. I just don't want to move. And that's literally what I did. I did my medicine. I changed my IV. I put whatever on, and I would curl into a ball and just watch the TV. And I didn't move, and I didn't talk, and I didn't tell nobody about anything. I didn't talk to friends. No one even checked up on me. Like, no one. Because when I turned 3 months, I announced it. And it was not a pretty announcement. It was me looking so bad with a PICC line. And at this time, when I decided to announce it, I had a feeding tube. But I'm not telling you guys about it in this video. I'm going to tell you about it in part 2. But this was the night when I choked on rice that I realized I was not going to eat. No matter what I did, I was going to eat, and I needed to talk to the doctor, and I needed to find out what's the next step from here. So I'm going to end the video here, you guys. I'm leaving it off at the part where I threw up all my rice from Chipotle, and I realized nothing was going to stay down, and I had to go back to my high-risk team to figure out what we're going to do. regarding food, because yes, I have hydration, but that's not enough to survive a pregnancy with hyperemesis. And this is where the beginning of my feeding tube journey starts, and I don't want to talk about it now. I'm going to leave that for part 2 because it is such a long process and journey that I'm not going to rush that part either. It's a very extreme major part in my pregnancy. It played a big role of who I became and like the fears that I overcome. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this. I hope you continue to watch the whole thing and are excited to watch the ones, not excited, but intrigued to learn about this, and watch the upcoming part 2 and part 3 of hyperemesis. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.